much like selective attention, the brain is built by associative memory. We remember things based on what we've experienced. Experienced in terms of what we've seen, what we've heard, and what we have felt. So that when we have the experience of love associated with betrayal, we don't have such an easy time trusting other people in a love context. When we have the association of danger with somebody coming close to us, we're going to get uptight and stressed. So we also have ways in which our brain has a template that tells us stories. Everybody in here uses email, right? And at this point, do you just pay attention to and assume that everything that comes to your computer screen through email is credible? No. Because what would happen if you did?
You get nobody.
Or like stuck in
Nigeria.
We get scammed. Right? People are out there trying to scam us. They're trying to take advantage of us. They're trying to get us to step into some kind of trap so that they can get excitement of some sort, or gain financially. Well, our brains are the same way. There are always things going on that are trying to scam us, that are trying to trick us. And it's happening in our emotional system. It's happening in the back of the brain. So that's why it's really important that just like we develop this ability to look at our computer screen and be skeptical and ask, wait a second, is this legit? Even if it's coming from somebody who I know, is this okay? Well, we have to, with our inner coaching voice, be doing that with our own thoughts and feelings and the stories we tell ourselves. Because we don't just have feelings. We have stories connected to the feelings. We have belief systems that are connected, that are through all these different channels in our brain that may have nothing to do with the present moment. And we may not have any idea what they have to do with. It's okay. We don't need to figure that out. People have spent lots and lots of time trying to figure that out. It's not so important to always figure it out. It's more important actually to work with it. So the template of our brain helps us do things like disqualifying the positive. We can glob onto all that negative. We can play it over and over again. And much like the selective attention film that we just saw, dismiss the positive, downplay it, minimize it. Oh, yeah, that. Not really take it to heart. We can jump to conclusions. Generally, when women jump to conclusions, we don't jump to positive conclusions. Rarely does that happen. When we jump to conclusion, we jump to some conclusion that somebody's not going to like us, it's not going to work out, it's going to have some negative turnout. We do emotional reasoning. I feel it, therefore it is. Walking down the street, I see a dog, that dog's gonna bite me. I feel it, it's gonna bite me, it's gonna bite me, it's gonna bite me. Well, we can walk into a room and somebody's not looking at us, they're having a conversation with somebody, and we can make up a story. They're mad at me. I did something, I don't know what I did, what did I do? There must be something really bad that I did, but I don't even have a clue what I did, because otherwise they would be looking at me. It's a storytelling. We do all or nothing thinking. We think in terms of good, bad, fat, thin, smart, stupid. We lose access to that continuum of gray in between, which is where most everything falls. Even if somebody's mad at us, most of the time it doesn't mean they're never ever going to talk to us again. And if they're mad at us to the point where they're never ever going to talk to us again, it's about them. It's not about us. Because when somebody refuses to have a conversation, work it out with them, I'm telling you, it's about them. Unless you have done something that's so horribly betraying of them, it is about them. We personalize. We as women are really, really good at creating stories that take things personally all the time. We do it in a couple different ways. One is that we assume we're responsible for people's situations to make them better and get us worrying about them and get us thinking about what we can do and feeling compelled to do things differently. Situations that we have no power to do differently. We may have done this in our families growing up. We may have done this with our peer group growing up. We may have had family members who inadvertently helped us to do this because they would tell us things and get us to problem solve or get us to be their confidant. We also personalize by writing a story and assuming that I must have done something. It must be me. It must be me because otherwise how do I explain it? When we can't explain something, and there's a lot of things we can't explain. There's a lot of things we're just not privy to understanding. So that when we can't explain something, we make it up and we blame ourselves, we hold ourselves at fault. Well, when we're in the workplace and we're in a relationship with somebody, whether it be a friendship or whether it be a romantic relationship, who do we want in the driver's seat? Do we want our inner critic in the driver's seat? Do we want our inner worrier in the driver's seat? Do we want that inner invalidator in the driver's seat? Because if we have those parts of our mind in the driver's seat, we're going to get in our own way. We're going to have a whole lot more challenge and have a whole lot more difficulty being successful and having fun. And sometimes it just isn't worth all that other stuff because it's just a whole lot more fun to be able to be with people and to be able to be imperfect. So we gotta really think about this and we gotta help deconstruct what this inner critical stuff does. And it's not fun, this deconstructing. It's pretty concrete. It involves asking ourselves a whole lot of questions. So for example, if I have a proposal that I send out, I want to do a presentation somewhere, and it gets rejected, that's a triggering event. So that triggering event has me thinking some negative thought. My idea isn't good enough. They didn't like it. They like somebody else's better. Feelings get activated. I feel foolish, feel embarrassed, feel shame. I might feel angry. And then I draw a conclusion. My inner critic or my inner worrier or some inner part that's the negative inner parts is going to draw a conclusion. Well, forget it. They're not going to accept it. They're not really interested. Don't try again. So what's going to be likely to happen? What's the behavior that might follow? I'm going to give up. I'm not going to follow through. I'm not going to keep trying. How many times does it take for things to be put out there in order for it to finally get accepted? You know, we've all read the book or seen the movie The Help. She sent that proposal out 60 times before somebody accepted it. 60 times. So what's a constructive coaching message that's going to help us not give up? That's going to help us not avoid doing something that may really be beneficial to us to do. Because if we're left to our inner critical system, we're going to give up. We're going to avoid. So keep trying. I've got to think about what to be saying to myself, and then it can't just be one time I say it. I've got to say it over and over again. I've got to keep having a conversation with myself about this. And I'm being literal, really having a conversation. So it's not crazy to be talking to yourself, and in particular, be talking to yourself out loud. The more we speak to ourselves out loud, the more we're actually being effective. And if our goal is to be effective rather than ineffective, then it works. Dialoguing, and somebody had an example earlier, the dialoguing between the inner critic, I think it was you, that inner critic and the inner coach. The inner critic saying, like, don't say it, they're gonna feel really bad if you say it. And the inner coach said, go for it. Don't assume that negative storyline, just go for it. That's the practice.